Hey, it's Jack, no K, Jack in the Attic. It's time for part 2 of Single Skein Shawls, which is part 4 of the Single Skein whatever series. This might be filmed in several parts. There are a lot of loud noises happening around me that are completely out of my control. One that is in my control is the air conditioning, which is staying on because it's 90-something degrees, so I will do my best. So this was supposed to be one big video, this one and the mini scarves video. However, I found too many of each different type, so I separated them into 2 videos. Did I miss a couple scarves in the scarf video and add them to this one? Yes, but what is the difference between a scarf and a shawl, really? I feel like I do actually know the answer to that. I feel like there is an answer, but we're not gonna get into that. 1 or 2 scarves may have slipped into this one. Don't worry about it. They're still shawl adjacent scarves, if that matters. So without the numbers in my head at the moment, I know we have at least 20 knit patterns and at least 20 crochet patterns. We'll do all the knit patterns first and then all the crochet patterns. As you may already know, the premise of this series is you have purchased a single skein of special sock yarn that has been sitting in your stash and you don't know what to do with it. These patterns are for that single skein. As we know, I'm a big fan of shawlettes, bandanas, kerchiefs. That's what started this whole series. That's what's making me want to continue this series. Although, I do think next up is going to be, don't tell anyone, this is a secret, next up is going to be wrist warmers, mittens, and gloves for the cold season coming up. So get excited for that. Let's get right into the patterns because there are so many. Let's go. Don't mind me, I'm just down here now so you can see the patterns. And sorry if I look down a lot, all of the patterns are on my laptop. First is the Tiny Shells Shawl. Many of these names will test me. From the description, the Tiny Shells Shawl is a small triangular shawl with alternating sections of textural knit in a knit and purl stitch pattern and simple lace sections that look like tiny seashells. The pattern is worked using charts. I really love the texture of this. I love the stripes. I cannot spend too long on each pattern because we have so many. From the description, this knit shawl features the feather and fan stitch, utilizing yarn overs and decreased stitches to create a wavy pattern. This is one that may have been slightly more appropriate to feature in the single skein scarf pattern, but I'm not just gonna not include it. It's cute. Still Waters is an asymmetrical triangle shawl with garter stitch and simple eyelets. The lace is worked on the right side only and there's no purling. Direct quote. I love the light diaphanous look of this shawl. It looks super soft and comfy. This is a half oval shawl worked bottom up from the lace edge and shaped with short rows. And look at the drape on this one. A lot of the patterns featured today have great information in the Ravelry notes, so I'm reading directly from them a lot. I'll put that all in quotes so you know. The Trio of Picot shawl set is great for using up those oddballs of colorful sock yarn which you may have lying around. So this is 3 patterns in 1. This is a classic shape with an interesting edge, and it looks like the 3 have different depths, so you can pick your preferred fit. I want to pronounce this like Lyra, like my cat stepdaughter's name. My stepdaughter who is a cat, her name is Lyra, but it's probably Lyra. Either way, this triangle shawl is knit on the bias and has 2 right sides. From the description, do you ever gift a shawl to a non-knitter only to see them wearing it with the wrong side on the outside? Yeah, me too. Thankfully, Lyra is a fully reversible shawl, making it gift-proof for your favorite knit-worthy friends who may not always remember the right side. This shawlette is inspired by the alpine aster, one of the Rocky Mountains' emblematic early summer wildflowers. It's knit sideways, increasing towards the center and then decreasing towards the other side. This is almost narrow enough to be a scarf, so it's likely very versatile. I'm including a couple of different shawlettes from this Spring Feverish collection. I love the textures of this multi-directional knit and agree with the description that this would work really well with a gradient yarn. This is another Spring Feverish design with fantastic texture, but this one utilizes brioche knitting to make an extra squishy and warm piece. There are more patterns I could share from this designer, but this video is gonna be long enough already. This shawl looks to be gently crescent shaped with a wide lace border along the bottom. It is knit bottom up and it looks like a decent sized shawl for only a single skein of yarn. This textured shawlette is worked from one side to the other, so you can use every bit of a 100-gram skein of yarn. In addition to the texture, the pointed edge is another interesting detail. Nan's No Fuss shawl, from the description, the crescent shape helps it stay on the shoulders. The overall size makes it possible to turn it around and wrap closer to your neck as a kerchief scarf as well. This shawl uses only simple stitches and an I-cord cast off. This hood or shawlette is an all-over lace pattern that incorporates a leaf motif, that's fun to say, that appears random even though it is just a large repeat. This pattern comes in 4 sizes, and I believe only the smallest version can be made with one skein, but still. A game with shapes. I can't even say that much about this shawl, I just have to show you the pictures. I don't think I've ever seen a shawl with this shape, or maybe anything with this shape. I know this would be an interesting knit start to finish. This crescent-shaped shawl uses garter stitch and eyelets to create a chevron lace design with an I-cord bind off. This looks very light and airy, and the drape is incredible. This simple but beautifully textured brioche triangle kerchief is a beginner-friendly brioche pattern with 2 available sizes. Beginner brioche friendly, I mean. I love brioche for neckwear. I do hope to knit more of it soon. The Simple Pleasure shawl is a triangle shawlette knit mostly in stockinette with garter and eyelet rows to add interest. As the description says, just enough patterning to keep your interest, not so much that strenuous stitch counting is required. This shawlette looks like a combination between a triangle and crescent shape, which I love. Really is the best of both worlds. Hannah Montana. This is mostly garter stitch with rows of drop stitch lace. Sounds like no purling to me. First thing I should mention, this is available in an ebook, but not as a singular pattern, so just be aware of that. The description is so detailed and evocative, I'll read this directly. Spy the eye of the peacock in the lace while an abstract fan of feathers appears in the swings between lace and stockinette stitch sections. Beautiful central quadruple decreases create a lovely lace patterning, offsetting structural stockinette in peacock ridge. I could not have written that. Actual lavender is a migraine trigger for me, and I'm jealous of everyone who gets to enjoy it, but I can enjoy this lavender shawl. This is a crescent shawl with lace along the bottom edge, knit sideways, designed for adventurous beginner knitters. I think it's no surprise that Joji Locatelli is on this list multiple times. I love the contrast in this shawl between the solid sections, big, airy, oversized eyelets that I don't actually know the name of, and lacy sections. I've said before that mesh and stripes are friends. Stripes of lace or mesh are one of my favorite design details. This shawl is made with only simple stitches, so it would be a great learning project for a confident beginner. This says it's a sport weight pattern on the Ravelry page, so I'm not sure how it ended up in my search results, But luckily, the description says meeting gauge for this project is not necessary. Different yarn weights and needle sizes can be used, which will result in a larger or smaller shawl, so thank goodness. This triangle shawlette is knit from top down and includes charted instructions. The Stormy Sky shawl is a large asymmetrical shawl knit from corner to edge with alternating solid, lace, and drop stitch sections. This is so light and airy looking, it makes sense that the designer was able to create such a large piece from a single skein. The Flicker shawl is a purl-free garter stitch crescent with a large diamond lace border along the bottom and a picot bind off. This pattern includes both written and charted instructions. The Ravelry page for this pattern includes a little speaker button for the pronunciation of the name. Is this a new feature? I don't think I've seen that before. Let's try this.
Nurmilintu.
I have no clue if that's going to be audible. Anyway, this is another purl-free, free pattern with repeating garter stitch and lace sections to create an elongated triangle shawl. This pattern has another really cute description, but I'll read you just a bit of it. The elfish shawl invokes a playful spirit of self-care amid the joy of giving. This asymmetrical triangle shawl features bands of undemanding garter stitch broken up by pretty eyelet rows to keep your needles dancing merrily along, and is finished with cheeky tassels to add a touch of whimsy. This is another shawl scarf hybrid, and if you watched my single skein scarf video, you know I struggled a little bit with placing this type of pattern, and they kind of ended up split a little bit between these two videos. We talked about this. I assume how pieces were styled in the photos did influence me a little bit. This elongated diamond-shaped shawlette is worked from tip to tip with a ribbed body and diamond lace border on top and bottom. The Field Notes shawl is a scarf. It's another scarf. It's a wide scarf though. It's one that's right on the edge of being in both categories. It's wide enough to wear as a shawl, so here we are. This shawl is knit in an easily memorizable lace pattern with an I-cord bind off. The premise of this pattern is calling me out specifically. You know when you visit a cute yarn store on a trip or enjoy yourself at a yarn festival, you buy one skein of beautiful yarn you just can't resist? The souvenir skein. Not knowing what to do with it, it ends up in a drawer designated for a bright future. This elongated triangle shawl looks like mostly garter stitch with a simple lacy border. Over my knitting journey, I've grown to appreciate texture in new ways. The texture of this piece looks incredible. This shawl uses garter and hurdle stitch in the body with an eyelet and picot edge. This is another designer we'll be seeing a couple of times. A lot of good patterns. Couldn't include all of them for time, obviously. This simple garter stitch crescent shawl can be knit in any yarn, any gauge, to any size. This is just shawl. On kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, but from the same designer, this is a much more intricate piece. It's lace on lace on lace on stockinette, but low stress because you can stop at multiple different points depending on how much yarn you have. This is our first ruffle. This has been in my favorites for a while. This shawl is knit bottom up, and then the ruffle is picked up and knit separately. This construction seems smart as you can knit the entire body and then just knit the frill until you run out of yarn. The Knitting Badge neckerchief, this is the one I'm wearing. I heard about this from Lock Knits and loved it immediately. I want to make one for everyone I know. It's just a little kerchief knit from any yarn on any size needles to any size you want. A true stash buster, and it's cute. I love the drop stitch rows. Now it feels like I was wearing this backwards to do a big reveal, and that was not the intention, but I am gonna leave it this way now. Moving on to crochet patterns. So as the name suggests, this entire shawl is crocheted sideways in one piece, so you only have two ends to weave in. The high end of the yardage suggestion is a little tiny bit out of the single skein range, but it is easily adjustable. I know I say the words delicate and lacy a lot, but lace stitch patterns really help to stretch a single skein to its full potential, so we see it a lot. You'll get no complaints from me. The marine shawl exemplifies that. This pattern uses only basic stitches to create a really intricate look. This is a lightweight, airy triangle shawl with a heart lace border. The description says this pattern was designed specifically for 100% silk yarn, but that you can use any yarn. This pattern is so named because it's simple enough to keep your hands busy while you watch a movie, which I always appreciate. I would suggest an additional angle to the movie night name, which is that movie theaters are too cold, and a shawl is never a bad idea. This is another pattern that can accommodate different weights and amounts of yarn, but you can absolutely make a shawlette from a single skein. As we know, I love when the description discusses pattern inspiration, so I'll read this directly. Baubles and fringe line up like the strung light bulbs illuminating Denver's most historic block, Larimer Square. Cute. I love the fringe. Fringe has been growing on me lately. And it looks versatile. The Emily scarf is an elongated triangle-shaped shawl, and it looks like it's worked from one end to the other. I love the pointed border on the long end. Also, this piece was designed for and named after the designer's son's 6th grade teacher, and that's too cute not to mention. I am just now noticing how many times this designer is on this list. 3 times, and I had to cut it down to 3 for time. This shawl in particular can be worked in either a trapezoid shape or a traditional triangle. It's worked side to side, so you don't have any of those extremely long rows, and the border is crocheted at the same time as the body. The theme of very adjustable sizing depending on how much yarn you have, but totally doable with one skein, continues with the Terraform in Crochet pattern. This designer also has a lot of shawls to check out. This piece is crocheted in an asymmetrical triangle with all the increases on one side. The autumn filigree can be crocheted as a shawl or scarf and is adjustable to any size. The body of this piece looks pretty simple and straightforward, but the filigree edging adds so much detail. This pattern includes written instructions and charts. Emma's Garden is a lightweight shawlette that includes solid rows and mesh rows that look almost like a lattice design, creating a very interesting effect. This is crocheted in an easily memorizable 4-row repeat designed to showcase a single special skein. This designer also has many shawl patterns. I did only pick 2 for this list, but there are plenty more. This is another light and airy piece crocheted in the Lover's Knot stitch, which is simpler than it sounds but looks very detailed. The Sweet Boba shawlette is a straightforward asymmetrical triangle shawl, but with a cute bobble edge detail that resembles boba, as you may have guessed. I really like this theme of simple shawls with interesting edge details. But on the other hand, I also love an all-over lacy design, such as the Dogwood Blossoms shawl. This one is all flowers. The whole design is flowers all over. I think that's so clever and cute. The flower design is a square, but they're worked seamlessly into a shawl shape. The Speckled Egg shawlette is a simple corner-to-corner crochet triangle, very similar to this one I made last winter. This is neither sock yarn nor one skein, but made with sock yarn, I could see this being a nice lightweight option for the spring and fall transitional weather. This elongated triangle shawl is worked in an airy mesh stitch with a border that looks like maybe a V shell stitch, but sideways. This is crocheted from end to end with the border worked at the same time as the body instead of added on after. The Glacier shawlette is a simple end-to-end triangle with eyelet rows and a detailed border. The description says this piece was inspired by the colors of Lake McDonald in Glacier National Park. The sample pictured uses 350 yards of a 100-gram hank and an additional 70 yards of a contrasting mini, but you could easily make this with a single skein. The Breeze Fairy Kerchief is a classic granny stitch triangle, but with an interesting border detail. It looks like that might be the reverse single crochet stitch, which I think is underutilized as a border stitch. This shawlette is crocheted in a trapezoid shape, which I'm really loving right now. I'm seeing more trapezoids and now I want to make a trapezoid shawl. The body of the shawlette is simple, but the edging is delicate and lacy, adding just enough detail. The Suncatcher comes in 3 sizes and only the small size can be made with a single skein. However, the sections of airy lace really stretch a single skein to a good sized shawlette. We've talked about how mesh and stripes are friends. I stand by it. To reference a previous pattern compilation video, this is what I'm talking about when I say I love a shawl with pointy bits. This is pointy bits. This is worked from side to side with the border detail crocheted at the same time, so you can use up every bit of a single skein with zero waste. Okay, so there's basically no information in the description other than the usual stats of yarn weight, yardage, hook size, and the only photo provided is pretty blurry. But this is no shade to the designer because even before seeing the tester photos, I knew this was a gem. This is a super lacy and detailed crescent shawl. It looks like it has 2 repeating sections and then a border, likely worked from the center out. It looks super airy and it ends up being a really impressive size. There are some clearer photos in the projects section. I'm not comfortable sharing people's project photos that are not in the original listing, but everything is obviously linked below, so you can definitely check it out. Okay, without zooming in, I could easily be convinced this is a knit piece. It's not. The motif is technically a Christmas tree, but it's definitely subtle enough to work year-round. The open stitches between the trees mean you get as much length as possible from a single skein. This shawlette has so many elements that I love. Stripes of meshy eyelets inverted on each side, and a pointed border. It's interesting but not overboard, subtle but not too subtle, you know? This designer also has several shawlettes, definitely worth checking out. This is another shawl from the same designer because I couldn't help myself, but I will limit it to 2. The Bloom shawl has a very interesting construction. This is a crescent-shaped shawl where you crochet the edging first and then fill in the middle with short rows. I don't think I've ever seen that before. The Pink Apple shawl is a crescent shawl and looks very detailed, but uses only basic crochet stitches to create the repeating triangle design. Of course, to me, it looks a little bit spiderwebby, which is a compliment, but in a geometric kind of way. Our final shawl for today is the Vintage Peach. This is a light and airy all-over lace triangle shawl with an optional contrasting border. It's super delicate looking with a vintage vibe, simple and versatile. We did it, we made it through 40-something patterns. I'd do this as kind of a whirlwind, rapid fire, listing patterns off, but unless I have made something, I don't want to sit and talk too much about it, you know? I want to get through everything. So, as always, let me know if you have made any of these. Did you have a good time? I would love to hear about it. I am obviously limited by time, so I can't include everything, and if I could, that wouldn't be interesting anyway. But if there is a single skein shawlette that you love, definitely let me know about it in the comments. Did you have a favorite from this list? Am I absolutely wrecking your Ravelry favorites list? Me too. That is all I have for you today. As you go on your shawlette journeys, always be sure to rest and take breaks and stretch your hands and wrists and just take care of your joints. But as always, go and live your best yarny life, and I will see you next time. Bye.